The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. Psalm 34:15. David shifts from human responsibility to God's response. The phrase, "the eyes of the Lord," employs anthropomorphic language to describe God's attention. God sees everything, but this verse speaks of his special regard for his people. The word "upon" shows focused attention. God watches the righteous not as a distant observer, but as an engaged father. The expression, "the righteous," identifies the objects of his care. These are not perfect people, but those who fear God and pursue his ways as described in the previous verses. The phrase, "and his ears are open," adds hearing to seeing. God does more than observe. He listens. The expression, "unto their cry," reveals the context. When the righteous call out in distress, God hears. His ears remain open, not closed. No prayer goes unheard. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. Psalm 34:16. The phrase, "the face of the Lord," again uses human terms to describe divine action. The expression, "them that do evil," identifies the wicked. These are not the righteous, who occasionally stumble into sin, but those who persist in rebellion. The phrase, "to cut off the remembrance of them," describes complete removal. God will erase their legacy. Their names will vanish, and their influence will end. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram experience this judgment. They challenge Moses' leadership and God's authority, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods. Numbers 16:32. Then the ground consumed them alive, and their families disappeared with them. Their rebellion ended in destruction. The earth swallowed them, and their memory became a warning, rather than a legacy. God's eyes rest on the righteous, while his face opposes the wicked. His ears are open to the prayers of the faithful, while he eliminates the rebellious. The difference between these two groups determines their eternal destiny. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of all their troubles. Psalm 34:17. David repeats the promise of verse 15 with additional detail. The phrase, "the righteous cry," acknowledges that godly people face difficulties. Righteousness does not immunize believers from suffering. The verb "cry" suggests distress, not casual conversation. The expression, "and the Lord heareth," confirms divine attention, while the phrase, "and delivereth them," adds divine action. The words, "out of all their troubles," makes the promise comprehensive. No trouble exceeds God's power to deliver. Peter experienced this deliverance when Herod imprisoned him. The church prayed without ceasing. And when Herod would have brought him forth, the same night Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and the keepers before the door kept the prison. Acts 12:6. The situation appeared hopeless. Guards surrounded Peter, and chains bound him. And behold, the angel of the Lord came upon him, and a light shined in the prison. And he smote Peter on the side, and raised him up, saying, "Arise up quickly." And his chains fell off from his hands. Acts 12:7. God sent an angel. The chains fell away, and the guards remained oblivious. Peter walked past them, and through the iron gate that opened by itself. The church's prayers reached God's ears, and he delivered Peter from all his troubles. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Psalm 34:18. The phrase, "of a broken heart," describes those crushed by circumstances. Their spirits are wounded, their confidence is shattered. The expression, "and saveth, such as be of a contrite spirit," adds spiritual brokenness to emotional pain. The word contrite means crushed or pulverized. It describes thorough humiliation. These people recognize their helplessness and their need for God. The promise that the Lord is nigh brings comfort. God draws near to the broken. He does not despise their weakness. He approaches them in their pain. The verb saveth confirms his purpose. He comes not to condemn, but to rescue. David knew this truth from experience. When Nathan confronted him about Bathsheba and Uriah, David's world collapsed. His sin stood exposed, and his reputation lay in ruins. He later wrote Psalm 51. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. O God, thou wilt not despise. Psalm 51:17. To his joy, David discovered God receives broken people. Humility opens the door to restoration. The publican in Jesus' parable understood this principle. He stood in the temple, unable to lift his eyes to heaven. And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, God be merciful to me, a sinner. Luke 18:13. His prayer contained no excuses, no self-justification, and no comparison with others. He acknowledged his sin and pleaded for mercy. Jesus declared the outcome. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For every one that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Luke 18:14. God drew near to the broken publican and saved him. The proud Pharisee went home unchanged. Contrition attracts divine favor, while pride repels it. These verses reveal the character of God. The Lord watches over his people. He listens to their prayers, and he delivers them from trouble. God's relationship with the righteous stands in contrast to his opposition to the wicked.